Now continuing from the previous lecture from where we have left, that is question number 11. So now we will see the question number 12. According to the question, XRD pattern of first peak of FCC and BCC crystal using wavelength of copper alpha of 0.154 nanometer at Bragg's angle theta equals to 20 degree for both for FCC and BCC. We have to find the ratio of lattice parameter of FCC to the BCC. According to the given condition, this is the first peak where both FCC and BCC are showing at theta equals to 20 degree. So for first peak there are FCC and BCC. For FCC we know that the first peak is 111 plane and for BCC the first plane is 110 plane. Now we have given lambda equals to 0.154 nanometer and theta equals to 20 degree. Lattice parameter of FCC upon lattice parameter of BCC equals to D equals to A by root over of H square plus K square plus L square. So we can write lattice parameter equals to D into root over of H square plus K square plus L square. So we will write D of root over of H square plus K square plus L square, and again for BCC we will write D into root over of H square plus K square plus L square. We also have to determine the value of interplanar spacing, that is D. So for determining D we can write n lambda equals to 2D sin theta, or D we can write n lambda by 2 sin theta. In this case we can see that lambda is given as 0.154 and this is constant for both FCC and BCC, and also theta is common for both FCC and BCC, that is 20 degree. So this is again a constant term, lambda is also constant term. So now D is a constant. So for FCC and BCC both the terms D are same, so they will get cancelled, and finally we can write root over of, for FCC we can write 1 square plus 1 square plus 1 square, and for BCC we can write 1 square plus 1 square plus 0 square, that is root 3 upon root 2. Now this would be value of root under 1.5, that is 3 by 2, and we can write this as 1.22474. So up to 2 decimal we can write this as 1.22. So for this case 1.22 is the correct answer. Moving to the next question. We have following set of information given. For two temperature, that is T1 300 Kelvin, we have sigma 1, that is electrical conductivity, and for T2, that is 500 Kelvin, we have sigma 2. We have Boltzmann constant value and the material is silicon. So we have to find the value of band gap. We know that for finding band gap of silicon intrinsic semiconductor, we can write sigma equals to sigma naught exponential minus band gap upon 2 kT. Normally we will see that in formula we use kT instead of 2 kT. So when we will use 2 kT and when we will use kT? When we have electrical conductivity we will use 2 kT, and when we have thermal conductivity we will use kT. K here is Boltzmann constant. So now we will substitute the value. We can write sigma 2 by sigma 1 equals to sigma naught will get cancelled. So we have exponential Eg by 2 kT plus Eg by 2 kT. This one is for 500 and this one is for 300. Now we can substitute the value and write sigma 2 as 1.25 divided by 1.0. This is the value of sigma 1 and sigma 2 equals to exponential minus Eg by 2k. So we have 1 by 500 minus 1 by 300. Now we can write 1.25 equals to exponential minus Eg by 2 into 8.617 into 10 power minus 5 Boltzmann constant into 500 into 300. After solving and taking natural log on the both side, we will get Eg by 8.617 into 10 power minus 5 into 50, 500 into 3 equals to ln 1.25. So Eg we will get multiplication of this and this. So the final answer would be 0.288 electron volt. Up to 2 decimal we will have 0.29 volt is the correct answer. If the data for this question is not correct, then only the answer can differ. Otherwise this would be the answer, but the procedure remains the same. So now we will move to the next question. According to this question, the Gibbs free energy is given as minus 3000 XA XB. Mole fraction given as X equals to 0.4. So this XB will be 0.6. R we have given and T we have given as 298. So for this case, student was not confirm about this temperature value, this XA and this negative sign here. So whatever we are going to solve, the procedure remains the same. Only the maximum answer can differ. So now we will solve the question. We know the formula for activity coefficient of A. That is, we can write RT ln gamma A equals to del by del XA of excess free energy. Now we have to differentiate this term, that is del by del XA of what is Gibbs excess free energy, that is minus 3000 XA XB. We can write this as minus 300 del by del XA of XA into 1 minus XA, and after differentiating we will get minus 3000 into 1 minus 2 XA. After substituting the value for XA equals to 0.4 as given in the question here, we will have minus 600 joule per mole. Now we will substitute the value, that is R is 8.314 into temperature is 298 into ln gamma A equals to minus 600. So after solving for gamma A, we have 0.785 and thus we can calculate the activity as gamma A into mole fraction of A, that is 0.785 into 0.4. After calculating we will get 0.314. So this is the correct answer. If the values are correct, then this is the correct answer, otherwise the process remains the same. So now we will move to the next question. We have to identify the invariant reaction solid plus liquid giving solid at 1493 degree Celsius in iron carbon diagram. So we can draw the diagram like this. In the diagram we can see that this is eutectic invariant, in which a liquid transformed to 2 solid 1 and solid 2. This is eutectoid invariant reaction. In this reaction, one solid gamma transformed to 2 solid alpha plus perlite, and in third case this is peritectic reaction. In this case, solid plus liquid transformed to solid. This is the exact case we have given. So for this question, peritectic is the correct answer. Now we will move to the next question. According to this question, identify the correct statement regarding heat treatment of copper. This question is regarding GP zones and their different phases and coherency. So first of all, we will see that how the constituents and phase changes in the copper system. So we will see that supersaturated solid solution, that is aluminium 4% copper. The next phase will be GP zones. The next one will be theta double prime. This is coherent with the matrix phase. Then the next phase will be theta prime, that is semi-coherent. And the next phase will be theta, that is incoherent with the CuAl2. So in this single statement we can see that GP zones is coherent with the matrix. So option C is correct. Also we can see that GP zones is coherent with the CuAl2. So this is wrong, because GP zones is not coherent with the CuAl2 phase. So this is wrong. In the B case, GP zones is copper rich phase. So this is true, because in the diagram we can see that this is copper rich phase here, GP zones. And the last statement is GP zones are incoherent with the matrix. So this is wrong. So this is MSQ type of question and two statements are correct. That is copper rich phase is GP zones and GP zones are coherent with the matrix. Now we will move to the next question. According to the question, which of the following method is suitable for detecting internal cracks? So we know that gamma radiography has high penetration, that is able to detect voids, cracks, porosity and inclusion in the material. Ultrasonic uses high frequency sound wave to detect again all these cracks, voids, inclusion and porosity. And we know that XRD is used for crystal structure determination. So similarly, X-ray radiography is used for internal crack detection. So the liquid penetrant test that is used for surface defect analysis. So this is not used for internal crack detection. So for this question, gamma radiography, ultrasonic and X-ray radiography. Now we will move to the next question. In this question we have match matrix, where we have to match element with the ore. Aluminium comes from bauxite, iron comes from hematite, copper comes from chalcopyrite, and titanium comes from rutile. So this is the correct matching. Moving to the next question. Oxidation potential of two reaction is given as, so this is given oxidation potential, not the reduction potential. You have to calculate the standard Gibbs free energy for overall reaction. Clearly in the reaction we can see that as the oxidation potential of the second reaction is more, so there will be oxidation here, and this is less in terms of oxidation potential, so there will be reduction here. So now we can write E naught of the cell as E of cathode minus E of anode. That is, oxidation we know is anode, whereas reduction is cathode. So we will write 0.22 minus 2.37. So we will get minus 2.15 volt. Now we have to find the standard Gibbs free energy, that is delta G naught equals to minus NFE. We have formula, so we can put the value. We will get minus N is 2 into F is 96500. E naught is minus 2.15. So after calculating this value, we will get 414950 joule per mole. We can write 414.95 kilojoule per mole. In this question, the Gibbs free energy for the formation of VO, NO, TiO2 and Fu are given as per mole of oxygen at 1000 Kelvin. So for this type of question we have to understand that this is related to Ellingham diagram, in which there is a delta G naught formation per mole of O2, and on the other side we have temperature axis. In this, if the line is lower, then it can reduce the upper line. So value of this free energy formation per mole is, for VO it is 43, for NO it is 63, for TiO2 it is 73, for FeO it is 67, all with negative sign in kilojoule per mole. So we will write TiO2 here, then FeO, then NO, then VO. If the values given here is correct, then this should be the plot. We have to plot the oxide formation lower in the diagram which has higher stability, that is negative delta G, and this oxide will be able to reduce all the above, FeO, NO, VO. So out of this 4 option we can see C option is correct for this. We will check the other option also. VO can reduce NiO. No, VO is at the top, so it cannot reduce the bottom oxides. So this is wrong. NiO can reduce TiO2. Again NiO is here and TiO2 is bottom, so it cannot reduce. So this is also wrong. Fu can reduce TiO2. Again Fu is top and TiO2 is bottom, so this is again also wrong. The Fu cannot reduce TiO2. So only option is TiO can reduce NiO, because the concept here is that oxide at bottom will reduce all oxide above it as placed in Ellingham diagram. As there was confusion in the question regarding this oxide formation and their respective Gibbs free energy values, so the concept remains the same here, that is this one. Now we will move to the next question. In this question it is given that it is following laminar flow, Stokes law and free settling, and we have given the density of galena, the fluid and the steel. Now in this question we can use this formula. So where we can use this formula? Whenever there is a free settling, laminar, Reynolds number is very small. Also Stokes law is valid. Here 25 is the diameter for galena. Now we will substitute the value, that is dA by dV equals to 7600, density of galena minus density of the fluid by density of the steel minus density of the fluid to the power half. Now we can substitute the value and calculate dA equals to 25 into 66 by 16, that is 25 into root under 2.25, that is 25 into 1.5. After calculating we will get 37.5 mm. Size of the steel ball should be 37.5 mm to follow Stokes law and condition. Now we will move to the next question. Now in this question we have to find the orthogonal matrix and select one of the best answer from the given. So we will see the concept of orthogonal matrix. A matrix is orthogonal if A into A transpose is identity, that is A inverse equals to A transpose. Then the matrix is orthogonal. So we will take A matrix, that is alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3 and alpha 4. Then we have to take the transpose, that is alpha 1, alpha 2, alpha 3, alpha 4, and then find the product, and whatever there comes, that should be the orthogonal matrix. Next question. In this question, we have to find the characteristics equation from the eigenvalue of 1 and 6. First of all, we know that for characteristics equation, lambda square minus trace of A matrix into lambda plus determinant of A should be equal to 0. Also the eigenvalue is given, so we can write x minus 1 into x minus 6 equals to 0. So we can write x square minus 7x plus 6 equal to 0. So from this we can see that the trace should be 7, that is sum of the diagonal element. If suppose that we have this matrix A here, then sum of this alpha 1 and alpha 4 will be trace here. So we have given the 4 option and we have to select one of the 4 option. Now we will move to the next question. This question is from Newton-Raphson method. Find the value of the first derivative at xi given that xi plus 1 equals to 13.5, xi is 8.5 and f of xi is 15. So this is directly a formula based question. So Newton-Raphson method is xi plus 1 equals to xi minus f dash of xi divided by f of xi. So on substituting the value we will get 13.5 equals to 8.5 minus f dash of xi that we have to determine, and f of xi, that is 15, is given. After calculating f dash xi, we will get minus 75 is the correct answer for this question. Move to the next question. Next question is, using the least square regression method, find the value of r square, that is coefficient of determination. The value of square of the error is given as 120 and total sum of the squares is given as 1200. So this is also a formula based question. So we will write coefficient of square of determination equals to 1 minus sum of square of error divided by total sum of squares. So on substituting the value we will get 1 minus 120 by 1200, that is 1 minus 0.1, that is 0.9. So r square value is 0.9. This is the correct answer for this question. Moving to the next question. In this question a function is given here and we have to find the magnitude of the gradient of the function at 1, 1. So first of all we will find the gradient, that is delta f equals to del f of del x I cap plus del f of del y j cap. Now del y del x of x square y plus x y square I cap plus del y of x square y plus x y square j cap. After partial differentiation we will get 2xy plus y square I cap plus x square plus 2xy j cap. That is gradient of the function and we have to calculate at 1, 1. So x equals to 1 and y equals to 1. We will get 3 I cap plus 3 j cap, and on finding the magnitude at 1, 1 we will get root 3 square plus 3 square, that is root 18, that is 3 root 2, and we will get 4.424 is the correct answer for this question. Now we will move to the next question. So this is a mathematics question. We have to find the limit when x tends to 0. So for this question we have to use the expansion here for sin x, that is x minus x cube by 3 factorial plus x to the power 5 by 5 factorial. So we can write limit x tends to 0, 6 into x minus x plus x cube by 3 factorial and this divided by x cube. Now x cancelled and x cube will get cancelled with x cube and we will left with x tends to 0 of 6 into 1 by 6 plus the rest of the term. So finally we will get the value as 1 because the rest of the term will have higher power of x. So it will be 0 on substituting x equal to 0. So for this question 1 will be the correct answer. Moving to the next question. Which of the following expansion does not exist using Maclaurin equation? According to the Maclaurin relation, we have fx equals to summation 0 to infinity f of n 0 n factorial x to the power n. So this is the special case of Taylor series where we have found expansion about x equals to 0. For this case the expansion would look like x equal to f of 0 plus x into f dash of 0 into 1 factorial plus x square into f double dash 0 by 2 factorial plus x cube into f triple dash 0 by 3 factorial and it goes on. So clearly we can see that if fx equals to 0 at x equal to 0 this is not valid. So function value fx is critical. It should not be undefined. Also we can see that these are derivative terms here. So this should also be defined. So function value plus their derivative should also be defined. And out of the 4 options here, the derivative for A option is yes defined, B is not defined, C is also not defined because it takes minus infinity, this takes infinity. Option D is defined here. So for this case, Maclaurin series not exist for option B and option C. So these two are correct. Moving to the next question. This is a match matrix type of question where we have to match defect with the phenomena. First of all, we can see that porosity is related to escaping tendency of gas bubbles. So Q matches to 4. Similarly, cold set is related to improper or lack of fusion, and Mishran is related to not filling properly. So these are unfilled areas in the castings. So that is due to improper design or not filled properly. And the S option will have the first option. So for this 30 question, this is the correct match. Moving to the next question. Which of the following uses non-consumable electrodes? So first one is gas metal arc welding. In this case, they uses consumable electrode. It melts with the base metal. In this case, electrode also gets melted in the shielded metal arc welding. The electrode is again consumable. Plasma welding uses tungsten electrode, which is obviously a non-consumable electrode. Electron beam welding uses a high beam focused high velocity electron to generate heat. So this is again non-consumable electrode. So non-consumable electrode are plasma and electron beam welding. Moving to the next question. Next question is match matrix. We have to match column 1 with the defect type with the dimension in column 2. So we know that Frankel defect is a point defect. For edge dislocation, we know this is one-dimensional defect. Grain boundary is a 3D defect, where stacking fault is a two-dimensional defect. So for this case, this is the correct matching. Moving to the next question. And the last question is, where is the shifting of neutral points of contacts of rolls with the strip when the front tension is used? So suppose that there is a rolling mill here. We have the entry point and this is the exit point, and there is a front tension here in this direction. So why this front tension is applied? So options are rolling force decreases. Yes, this is true. The rolling force decreases for this case during the front tension. Rolling force increases. No. Neutral point of contact shifts towards the forward direction. Yes, this is true. So suppose that we have neutral point is now shift towards the entry point in this direction. So ion will shift from somewhere here in the middle to this direction. Also in this case, it will shift from in this direction to in this direction. So it will shift towards the entry point. So therefore the option D is not correct because it is exactly opposite of the C case. So for this case, two options are correct. That is rolling force decreases and neutral point of contact shifts towards forward direction or entry side. Now we will see some more questions that are not with data but only the concepts and the questions are shown. Work done required during the extrusion process per unit volume, that is asked in the question. So for this question we don't have the data, but this formula is used. Initial length and the initial area are given. We have given a separate relation to calculate the stress value and the strain values. Then we will calculate the final strain value and substitute here. We will get the answer. The next question is fracture toughness. The K1C is equals to beta sigma root pi AC is used, in which this is the fracture toughness. Beta is called geometry factor, sigma is called stress, and AC is the critical crack length. Simply this relation is used where beta and sigma is constant. So we are reduced with this relation. Now by using this relation we will get the answer. Now the next question is strain rate for Navarro herring creep. This is general equation for creep mechanism, in which the value of N and P varies for all the process like Koval creep or dislocation climb or Navarro herring. So for Navarro herring we have N equals to 1 and P equals to 2. After substituting the value, we would have got the answer. The next question is strain required for plastic deformation. So this is one of the simplest question, and the given case is this is BCC with the Berger vector of this. So all the values are given. We have to just substitute the value and get the answer. The next question is from Sievert's law. This question seems to be a bit complicated and lengthy. So that is difficult to understand in the examination. But this is easy because we have to only substitute the value and get the answer. Again, the one more question is from Faraday law, where we have to calculate the mass deposited, and we have given all the values like current density 200 ampere per meter square, or similarly the time, the atomic mass and Faraday value. So we have substituted the value and got the answer. Now we are done with the question. This is all the question we have collected. Now according to the analysis, we can say that there is 40 to 50 marks which can be scored easily. 30 to 40 would be moderate level question and 10 to 20% would be tougher side, where you have to remember the formulas and the concept, and the calculation is also becoming in those questions. So overall we can say that the question was on moderate to tough side. A student who can score between 60 to 70 marks, definitely they are going to get 2-digit rank. If your marks is greater than 70, then you can get single digit rank. If you are scoring greater than 80, definitely you are going to top in the examination. So coming to the cutoff section, on comparing with 2024 and 2025, for general it was 41. This time you can expect to increase the cutoff to around 45, and similarly for OBC, last time it was 36.9. This time you can expect to be around 41 to 42, and for SC/ST last time it was 27.3. Now this time you can expect to be around 30 to 32. This may be the cutoff for this year. Hopefully you liked the video. Please subscribe to my channel, like the video and comment. Thank you for watching.